Brexit Secretary David Davis had threatened to resign if his cabinet colleague Damian Green was sacked. Theresa May's deputy Green has now been asked to leave his post after an investigation found his misled the public over allegations of ography on parliamentary computers. The Prime Minister demanded his resignation as first Secretary of State after an independent advisor on ministers' interests, Sir Alex Allan, found he had breached the ministerial code. Just weeks ago, David Davis, the Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, claimed he would step down from his post if Green lost his job. But now the minister appears to have backtracked on his pledge. Damian Green has been sacked from his cabinet position. Image, London News Pictures Limited. A source close to Brexit Secretary David Davis confirmed he would not quit the government in protest at Mr. Green's sacking. Mr. Davis was Mr. Green's boss as Shadow Home Secretary at the time of the police raid. Mr. Green has admitted he made misleading statements over claims ography was found on his Commons computer in 2008. But he has continued to deny allegations that he downloaded or viewed ography on his parliamentary computer, saying they are unfounded and deeply hurtful. He was one of the Prime Minister's closest allies, and his resignation is a serious blow for her as she navigates Brexit negotiations. A review by the Cabinet Secretary found that Green's statements, which suggested he was not aware that indecent material was found in 2008 on parliamentary computers in his office, were inaccurate and misleading. In his resignation letter to Mrs. May, Mr. Green said he regrets having been asked to resign and apologized for breaches of the ministerial code. He again denied downloading or viewing ography on his parliamentary computers. Mr. Green wrote, "I regret that I've been asked to resign from the government following breaches of the ministerial code, for which I apologize." He added, "From the outset I have been clear that I did not download or view ography on my parliamentary computers. I accept that I should have been clear in my press statements that police lawyers talked to my lawyers in 2008 about the ography on the computers, and that the police raised it with me in a subsequent phone call in 2013. I apologize that my statements were misleading on this point. The unfounded and deeply hurtful allegations that were being leveled at me were distressing both to me and my family, and it is right that these are being investigated by the Metropolitan Police's Professional Standards Department." Theresa May has sacked Damian Green. Image, AFP. Mrs. May said she was extremely sad to ask her close ally to resign, but stressed his behavior falls short of the 7 principles of public life. She said she had considered the findings of an investigation by Cabinet Secretary Sir Jeremy Haywood in 2 statements Mr. Green made on November 4 and 11, which he has now accepted were inaccurate and misleading. The PM went on, "This falls short of the 7 principles of public life and is a breach of the ministerial code, a conclusion which has been endorsed by Sir Alex Allan, the independent advisor on ministers' interests. While I can understand the considerable distress caused to you by some of the allegations which have been made in recent weeks, I know that you share my commitment to maintaining the high standards which the public demands of ministers of the Crown. It is therefore with deep regret and enduring gratitude for the contribution you have made over many years, that I asked you to resign from the government and have accepted your resignation." The report by Sir Jeremy found Mr. Green's statements on November 4 and 11, which suggested he was not aware was found on parliamentary computers in his office, were inaccurate and misleading, as the Met had previously informed him of its existence. Damian Green was found to have misled the public. Image, Getty. The Cabinet Secretary found the statements breached ministerial code and shared the findings with Sir Alex, who wrote to the PM confirming the report as a clear and comprehensive account, and that Mr. Green had breached the code. The inquiry was triggered after Kate Maltby, who is 3 decades younger than Mr. Green, claimed he fleetingly touched her knee during a meeting in a pub in 2015, and a year later sent her a suggestive text message after she was pictured wearing a corset in a newspaper. The Cabinet Secretary said that with competing and contradictory accounts of what were private meetings, it was not possible to reach a definitive conclusion on the appropriateness of Mr. Green's behavior with Kate Maltby in early 2015, though the investigation found Ms. Maltby's account to be plausible. Overall, Mr. Green's conduct as a minister has generally been both professional and proper, it said. Mr. Green apologized to Ms. Maltby. He wrote, "I deeply regret the distress caused to Kate Maltby following her article about me and the reaction to it. I do not recognize the events she described in her article, but I clearly made her feel uncomfortable, and for this I apologize." Mrs. May said, "You have expressed your regret for the distress caused to Ms. Maltby following her article about you and the reaction to it. I appreciate that you do not recognize the events Ms. Maltby described in the article, but you do recognize that you made her feel uncomfortable, and it is right that you have apologized. Green was appointed in the wake of Mrs. May's disastrous bet on a June snap election which lost her party its majority in Parliament. Her old friend was brought in to stabilize her leadership and counter enemies within the Conservative Party who wanted her to quit. Oxford-educated Mr. Green, a former financial journalist and speechwriter for Prime Minister John Major, has been the Conservative MP for Ashford, in Kent, since 1997.